1964, New York City. A 16-year-old boy walks out of his family home with nothing in his pockets. No plan, no money, no one waiting for him. His parents had just divorced, and something inside him broke with them. He was a child, but the world was about to mistake him for a pilot, a doctor, a lawyer, and a millionaire, all at the same time. By the time the FBI caught up with him, he had conned banks in 26 countries out of $2.5 million. He was 21 years old. His name was Frank Abagnale Jr., and this is the story of how a teenage runaway became the most wanted imposter on the planet, and then became the man the FBI called to stop the next one. Stay with me, because the twist at the end of this story is something Hollywood almost didn't believe. Frank Abagnale grew up in a comfortable home in New York. Normal childhood, normal family, until it wasn't. When his parents divorced, Frank was 16, old enough to feel it, too young to handle it. He ran. Broke, alone, and too proud to ask for help, he needed money fast. So he started small. He manipulated checks, slightly altering numbers, depositing them, withdrawing cash before anyone noticed. It worked, and that small success taught him something that would define the next 5 years of his life. People trust appearances more than truth. They don't verify what looks right. They don't question what feels familiar. They see a uniform and they see authority. They see confidence and they see legitimacy. Frank had just discovered the most powerful weapon in the world, and he hadn't even left his own city yet. What he did next, most adults with full careers couldn't pull off, and he was still a teenager. One afternoon, Frank was walking through an airport. He watched an airline pilot stride through the terminal, straight-backed, unhurried, completely at ease. Everyone moved for him. No one questioned him. No one stopped him. Frank watched that man and made a decision. He was going to become that man. Not by training for years, not by earning a license, by becoming the appearance of one. He contacted Pan American World Airways, told them he had lost his ID badge, and requested a replacement. They sent one. He sourced a uniform. He studied aviation terminology until it sat naturally in his mouth. Then he walked into airports, and the world opened its doors through a system called deadheading, where off-duty pilots ride flights at no cost. Frank traveled across the world for free. Paris, London, Rome, city after city. Crew members spoke to him as a colleague. Gate agents waved him through. Nobody asked a single question. A 16-year-old with no flight hours, no qualifications, and no right to be there was living the life of an international airline pilot. But here's the part that should keep you up at night. The pilot identity was just his warm-up. What he did after that was on another level entirely. Frank had proven something to himself in those airport terminals. If you look like you belong, you belong. So he pushed further. In Georgia, he presented forged credentials and walked into a hospital as a pediatric doctor. For nearly a year, he supervised medical interns, carefully delegating, never performing procedures himself, using confidence and authority to mask everything he didn't know. No one caught him. In Louisiana, he studied law books in his spare time and passed the bar exam. He practiced as a lawyer, a teenager, no law degree, no law school, practicing law in a United States courtroom. But beneath all of it, the uniforms, the titles, the identities, the engine that funded everything was paper. Frank had become a master forger. He printed checks so precisely replicated that banks across the world accepted them without hesitation. He understood the systems, the fonts, the routing numbers, the paper stock. He understood exactly where human attention drops, and he built his forgeries at that precise point. By the time he was done, he had cashed approximately $2.5 million in fraudulent checks across 26 countries. Interpol was looking for him. The FBI was looking for him, but Frank had no fixed address, no consistent identity, and no pattern they could pin down. He was everywhere. He was no one. He was a ghost in a pilot's uniform. If you're finding this story hard to believe, you're not alone. When the FBI first heard it, they didn't believe it either. Keep watching, because what happens next is where the story gets truly strange. The FBI assigned an agent to the case. His name was Joseph Shea, and unlike the dozens of investigators who would come before him, Shea was patient. He understood that chasing Frank's past was useless. Frank never stayed anywhere long enough to be caught by looking backward. The only way to catch him was to think the way he thought, to follow the patterns in the fraud, the small repetitions that even the most careful con man eventually develops. Slowly, methodically, the net tightened. Frank felt it. He moved faster, changed identities more frequently, crossed more borders, but the walls were closing. In 1969, in France, his luck finally ran out. He was 21 years old. He was arrested. For the first time in 5 years, Frank Abagnale could not run. He was extradited through multiple countries before finally being returned to the United States. The boy who had fooled the entire world was in a cell. But this is the moment most people think the story ends. It doesn't. What the US government decided to do with him next is the part no one talks about.
Prison is where most stories like this end. Frank's story took a different turn, because while he sat behind bars, the people trying to keep him there started to realize something uncomfortable. This man understood fraud at a level no one in law enforcement could match. He didn't just know how to run a con, he understood exactly why the systems failed, where the gaps were, where attention dropped, where trust was weaponized. The US government made him an offer. Help us, and we reduce your sentence. Frank agreed. After his release, he began working directly with the FBI. He trained agents, he consulted with banks, he helped redesign security systems to close the exact gaps he had exploited. The same mind that had dismantled the system was now being used to rebuild it. His techniques for detecting forged checks became standard training across financial institutions worldwide. The most wanted fraudster in the world had become one of the most valuable fraud prevention experts on the planet. Hollywood eventually came calling. In 2002, Steven Spielberg directed Catch Me If You Can, with Leonardo DiCaprio as Frank Abagnale Jr. The world watched his story and called it unbelievable. The FBI agents who trained under him knew exactly how believable it was. Frank Abagnale's story is not just about crime. It is about something far more unsettling. It is about how thin the line is between authority and performance, between legitimacy and the appearance of it. He never hacked a system. He never broke down a door. He simply walked in and trusted that no one would look closely enough. Most of the time, they didn't. He fooled the world. Then he helped fix it. And here's the question that stays with you long after the credits roll. If a 16-year-old runaway could do all of this in 1964, what is someone doing right now with the internet, with AI, with tools Frank never had? Think about that. If you want to understand how the CIA once tortured the wrong man for 5 months because of a single database error and then had to decide what to do with their own mistake, watch this next.